then you can stay tuned, or obviously you can catch the interview later on the podcast. Cool. So, okay, I didn't press it from this thing.
Okay.
It's too many gadgets for me to think about. Earrings, sorry. You can put your headphones on,
All right.
Fortunate. And is your phone on
Airplane mode. I had to make sure that.
So Jen, we'd like you to talk through the mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fortunate. So
All right.
if you're going to be there, then we'll rather get that
testing?
over there. So
Is that cool?
yeah, that's
But that's a bit far for me. Is that fine if I'm... that's
as long
fine.
as you're going through it, we can come a bit closer.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Do you want to open your water? What else do I have on me?
Does it make noise?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I'm sure I had a watch on this morning. Maybe I didn't put it on.
Are you running live already? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are we live on?
We live on Instagram.
Live on Instagram. It sounds awesome.
But don't worry about that.
I can ask my kids to check.
Oh, well, why don't you put on your... so send them the link to Inspirational Interviews and they can
Okay.
watch it live now.
Let me do that
Um,
quickly.
Yeah, otherwise, you know what you can do is go live on your Instagram quick in the room now
Okay.
and then just share the Inspirational Interviews link.
Did you say it's a YouTube link somewhere?
Do you have it, actually?
Yeah, I do.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.
I do. No, you know what? I won't go live because if calls
You
come
can-
through, then it might disturb.
No, because you can put on Don't Disturb.
Okay.
It's up to you. So invite yourself into my link.
Okay. What's your link on Instagram? Let me just.
Yeah, do you want me to find it quick?
Okay, so
Oh.
let me just do. I had to do that. My kids are just something else.
And is it on?
Yeah, it should be going. Why is it slow? Oh, because I just put it off airplane mode.
Let me say hi to everyone here. I don't know who's here. Oh, there's Gavin. I'll wave at Gavin. Cool.
Come on. There you go.
Okay. So are you
I need to
following?
invite you.
Yeah, let me do it. Hold on. Oh. Inspirational interviews. Okay, Jen Rod is live. There we go. So, what you can do, if you want, so go to the live.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if it'll have. I'm just wondering because you're in this room, there might be feedback on the sound.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Uh,
fine. Then let's not worry about it.
Yeah.
I'll just ask
Otherwise,
some
turn
people.
the sound off.
No, I'll ask some people
Okay.
to watch. Yeah.
It's too complicated
Yeah.
for me. All these different elements
Yeah.
of social media and sound.
Or they can just summary.
Huh?
They'll just listen to the podcast.
Yeah, that's also fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get. I'm waving at you there. Otherwise, you'll get too distracted. To be honest, I put that on and then it goes on, and that's for some of the people who like the visuals,
Okay.
you know. But it's also a strange time of the morning, so not actually a lot of people are actually
live.
online now. In fact, a lot of my real engagement is also in America.
Okay.
So they're fast asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunate.
Yes. Hi, Jen.
I feel fortunate that we're meeting.
Yes.
See, I knew I had a watch on here somewhere. Shame, yeah. I mean, you had a car accident. We were supposed to meet.
Yes, I did.
What happened?
I was taking my son to school. I think it was a Monday morning. I was turning right. I honestly did not see this taxi coming
Jeez.
from anywhere, and he just got into me.
Seriously. What car do you drive?
A Kia Picanto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a big car or a small?
No,
That's
it's
smallish
a Kia
car.
Picanto is a very small one.
Yeah. Okay. So, shame. And from the side then,
Yeah.
because that's the worst.
Yeah, from
impact,
the side.
eh?
Yeah, from the side. So, and like my son is like, "Mom, we're
Oh
dying."
my God. Oh,
I'm like,
shame,
"Okay,
man.
sorry, boy. Let's just calm down." Then I couldn't open my door, so I had to go throughout his door, and I for a moment there, I just stood, and I'm like thinking, "Okay, what just happened?"
So did the taxi get you from, and for you guys listening in the States or Australia or, wherever, our taxis are all these big vans. So it's not like a little taxi. It's a big van
Yeah.
and usually has about 20 people sitting in
Yes,
it.
Yeah, or more
Yeah.
than 20.
Yeah, exactly. We're African.
We have to move the crowd.
Sometimes sheep on the top or
Yeah.
bags or no. But tell me, so was it on your side or your son's
It
side?
was on my side.
And your son was on the other
Was
side?
on the other side, so he didn't get hurt, thank God.
Sure.
Yeah, I just had a serious whiplash.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm becoming a yoga teacher as well.
Oh,
So
nice.
the one question is, we were chatting about in one of the warm-ups is, in one of the sort of asanas, is the neck exercise that you do, right?
Okay.
And she was actually one of the answers she gave, because I said, it's controversial, where you roll your neck all around in a
Yes.
360 degree. So there's always been a little bit of controversy over that movement, that neck movement. But she was saying, well, imagine you have a car crash or someone comes into you. What is then the range that your neck is used to? And then, of course, then that all made sense,
Yeah.
right? I mean, not like you you don't do yoga for the day
Every
you have a
day,
car
yeah.
crash. Anyway, shame, I'm sorry, but it's
okay.
good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So I got your details from Catherine Lee Kruger.
Yes.
And you guys who listen to the show regularly have heard her interview. It was about 3 episodes ago. She passed your details on to me.
Okay.
I don't know anything about you, like everybody knows. All I know is that you're a Sangoma,
Okay.
which I love, because I love anything to do with healing, natural healing. But let's maybe start there and talk to our audience in the States and who are not from Africa and don't know
Okay.
what a Sangoma is.
All right. Okay, my name is Fortunate. Sangoma is a word used to define traditional healers in South Africa. Or let me say in the southern region, not only in South Africa, because you go to Botswana, you go to some part of Zimbabwe that will address us as Sangomas. So we're basically traditional healers, and the word Sangoma, it's derived from the word drum, because we use a lot of drumming to try and connect to the spiritual realm. So that's where the name got derived from. But I'm basically a traditional healer. Yeah.
I have a big smile on my face.
I can see
As you
that.
can see, because I just love this world of healing.
It's quite big, hey. It's quite a big world, and like for me, when I met Catherine, I think over almost 10 years ago, I was also going through issues of myself and went there for healing, because I needed healing. There were a lot of things that were going on in my life, and when you're going through some lot, then psychologist doesn't make sense, because you go there, you sit with the psychologist, and she just listens to you, and like, I don't feel better, I actually feel worse. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to look for alternative ways of dealing with, because to be very honest, I was running away from the traditional aspect of doing things, because I'm like, I don't stay in back home in the rural area or the villages, as some other countries would call it. So if I have to be a traditional healer, I want it to be modernized. I mean, I grew up and I spent most of my time in Johannesburg. I went to school with, I don't want to be racist, but I went to school with everyone, with white people, with Indians, and I wanted something that will cater for everyone that I know, not only the Black Africans, because you get some like white people that look down on the traditional aspect of things. And I know I have friends and that I work with or from high school that would want to be healed but wouldn't want to go the African traditional route. And so when I met Catherine, I was going through a very difficult time in my marriage, and I was also going through a difficult time in my own personal space, and I knew that I had this calling, and I was honestly running away from it. I'm like, I don't want to be a traditional healer. I don't want to look dirty and all of those things, because growing up, you see them walking bare feet with beads, then with red things. I'm like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. But because I was younger and I did not understand that it does not have to be that way.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be that way. The way where you sort of, where I would call, I thought I was going to look dirty, it's you have to work barefooted so that you get grounded, you know? And because I didn't understand all of those things, I looked down on it myself.
Yeah.
And like, I think I was being a real coconut.
Coconut. I like that one. I'm going to use it on my children. I usually say monkey, and I always have this like issue. Is it a good thing to say monkey? Or like I call anything bad a monkey this, a monkey that.
Yeah.
But a coconut's a good one. I like that.
So I was really looking down on it, and I didn't understand it. Then I met Catherine. On the sessions that we had, we first had a reading. And then after the reading that we had, she immediately picked up that I'm gifted. I'm like, that's not what I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we did some sessions with her.
Yeah.
And then, because my main problem was then, like, I was in a very emotionally abusive marriage. And
Okay.
like, I looked down.
So is now, it is past tense.
Yes.
You're out of the marriage.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like, because looking back, I'm like, but he's not the only one that emotionally abused me, you know? Like, most of the relationships that I got myself into, they always had an emotional abuse element of some sort. So
And also what you said there's key, right? What you got yourself into.
Yes.
Because we have to take ownership for it.
yes, we have to take ownership
Yeah.
of our problems. I was saying to somebody the other day that when you've got a problem, just take a seat back and say, how am I part of the problem?
Yes.
Because we can't always be the victim, you know? So I through the soul retrieval therapies that I was going through with her, I realized that I had subconsciously blocked a trauma that happened to me when I was 9.
Okay.
So during the retrieval, it brought it up. I'm like, okay. And I was devastated for some time. Was then.
But did you remember it, or did this bring it back up, or is it that during the therapy you put 2 and 2 together?
I remembered it during the therapy.
Okay.
I relived that moment
Okay.
during the soul retrieval.
Yeah.
And then I
Sorry.
I then realized that, okay, then I had to start working on myself.
Yeah.
Because I realized that I knew that something had happened to me, but I did not know the details. So I realized that I was raped at a very young age. I think I was 7 or 8 by,
Oh my God.
yeah,
It's my daughter's age. That's just horrific.
it is horrible, by the guys that used to herd our cattle back at home in the rural
So where
area.
did you grow up quickly? Just to put, so I can picture it when you
Okay.
talk about her.
Rustenburg. I was born in Sebokeng, but due to the political unrest then, my parents decided to take me to my maternal side, which is in Rustenburg,
Okay.
so that I could go to school, because in Sebokeng there was that Sharpeville massacre and all of this, and so schooling was not very stable.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
then they decided to take me to Sebokeng. It was then the old Buputatswana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was the old Buputatswana. So I went to primary school there, and then
Were you living with your grandparents?
I was living with my grandparents.
Yeah. On your mom's side.
On my mom's side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is quite traditional in South Africa.
It
hey?
is. Yeah. It is very traditional in South Africa that every child would live with their grandmothers from the maternal side. Unfortunately,
Yes.
I don't know why we don't get shipped to our father's side.
You don't?
No.
I wonder why.
most of the people, they're like, no, I was raised by my grandmother from my maternal side.
Yeah.
You hardly hear from the paternal side. I could be wrong. Maybe I just know those that were raised by the
Yeah.
maternal side
Yeah.
of the family. So that's where the rape happened. And so then it took me, I had to go home and ask my mother. I'm like, Ma, this is what happened during therapy. Did it really happen to me? Then my mother cried. Then she said, yes.
I'm actually getting cold everywhere,
Yeah.
you know, while you're talking.
So she said, yes, it did happen. And when we asked you about it, you didn't talk. So what happened is I lost my voice for a few months
Wow.
after the rape, because it was not only one person that raped me. It was two. So in the process of losing my voice, and then the family had decided that we're not going to ask her about it. I remember that year being in hospital. I don't know what happened in the hospital. And then after some times I had issues with my tonsils. Then I had tonsils.
Wow. It's all that sort of communication chakra.
Yes,
Hey?
the throat chakra.
Yeah.
And so I guess subconsciously I thought I was not good enough. So it was okay for somebody else to treat me the way they treated me. And then it was okay for me to be okay, because I felt that I'm not woman enough. I'm being defiled as well. Because then I asked my mother, okay, then what happened then? Because to be very honest, I couldn't remember. I guess I had blocked that side of me. And then my mother said, no, this is what happened to the guys. They were banned from the village. Then, because they were originally not from our village, the head of the cows, they would get people from other village to come. So they dealt with it the traditional way. So,
Which is? What's the traditional way?
I don't know what the English word is, but somebody gets banned from the village.
Banned, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know if it was reported to the chief of their village. I don't know how they handled it, that side. So that's been honest. So I had to ask my mom, this is what happened. This is what I saw during the soul retrieval. Because soul retrieval, when you journey, unfortunately you go through the things that sometimes you don't want to go through. Like you relive the moment. So I relived that moment. Then my mom, because I thought I was going insane, and I'm like, okay, I thought I was getting help here, but now this woman, this white woman is showing me things that...
This witch doctor. She would kill me for hearing me say that, because that's not true. But that's probably what you were thinking. Like, shit, is this real?
Yeah, I'm like, that, but because it felt so real, because I could even smell the chicken,
Oh my
because
God.
it happened in the chicken
Pen.
Yes. So then Mama said, no, it is true. It is what happened, and this is what happened. And somehow I remembered everything that happened. And I remembered how I lost my voice, how I couldn't speak, and then how I actually suffered. And I chose to forget it.
Yeah.
You know, to bury
Well,
it.
who wouldn't want to forget that?
Yeah. So somehow at the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not perfect. You know, I'm not that virgin girl that should be glorified or so many things. Then I started healing that. Then Catherine said, okay, you are much better. So when are you going to honor? Then I did some courses with her, because it really helped me. It really changed me. I was able to say to what I don't want. No, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Like, this is
To take ownership of your life.
Yes.
And yeah.
So it helped me a lot. Then I did some courses with her, personal development. Then I was able to develop my ability, my intuitive ability, and so many things. And like when I thought I'm done, she's like, so my darling child, when are you going to go? Then I'm like, Ma.
Yeah.
Really? I'm healing already, so there's no need for me. She's like, no. You have to honor your ancestors. And had Catherine not had that conversation with me, I wouldn't have honored the traditional way of doing things. I would have just been an intuitive counselor and a soul retrieval practitioner, energy healer, and left it at that. So I'm very grateful. I always tell her that she is Akwalema out of respect and out of love. I love her so much. She's made so much difference in my life. So she's my mentor. She's been through a lot as well, because
Yes.
she stopped doing the healing. She's teaching via Zoom and online, but she's a great person, and I'm very honored to have had met her,
Yeah.
and like for her to help me realize the person that I am.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm very grateful, and I'm glad that she told you about me.
Yes. No, well, me too. I mean, if I, if someone tells me about someone, then I generally, well, obviously I'll also trust my intuition to see if I don't get everyone on the show.
Okay.
But for me, when it, certainly when it comes to the healing world, I just, I really value healers, and obviously a lot of healers talk about it not being them, but it's coming through them.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just a conversation that I love. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is about your life story.
Yeah.
And you've obviously just packed it in quite quickly at the beginning. But just to quickly round off then, because you were talking about Catherine and sort of paying tribute to Catherine. Obviously, guys, you can go hear Catherine's life story, because she is on the show. So if you just search Catherine Lee Kruger, you'll find her there. But, we also had a very intimate conversation.
Yes.
Did you listen to it? Or?
I did.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Oh.
And I loved, when you think you know someone, that I was listening to the show, I'm like, oh my word, I've got so much in common with Ma. I didn't even know that. Because I was listening to the maths thing and the weight. I also hated maths at school.
Yeah.
Like for me, I hated maths from primary school. There's a lady that taught maths. But because...
Was she a coconut?
Yes. So because I then been the Buputa Tswana, I wasn't Tswana by birth. So my surname is not Tswana, it's Sotho.
Okay.
So, and I love the Tswana traditional dance. So when we're doing cultural thing, she excluded me because I'm not Tswana. I shouldn't be involved in the Tswana traditional things. And it so happened that she became my maths teacher. So I hated maths because I did not like her.
Yeah.
So I hated maths, and from that day, I've never liked maths. I've always failed maths. And thank God for me, in my era, we did not have to pass maths.
Oh, really? Didn't you?
No, I don't remember.
I'm sure you had to pass, but just not on you could do lower grade or higher grade.
Yeah. I remember because I went to high school in Greenside, and when we had to choose subjects, maths was one of those subjects that I'm like, I am not taking you anywhere. You are not going to help me anywhere with my life. I regret it now and there, because sometimes I think my finances would have been doing much better if I knew.
If you maybe understood numbers.
If I knew, maybe I understood numbers.
Exactly.
So yeah, I struggled with maths. I listened to the interview. It was very good.
Yeah. No, I usually encourage everyone not to listen to any interviews first.
Is it?
Well, just a lot of people like to be like researched and organized, but actually you don't need to be, because it's your life story.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
different.
actually could never be.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's go now to, all right, so you've told us, let's start, so where were you born?
Okay.
Talk to us leading up to age 7, because obviously you've just dropped that bombshell on us of, your 7th year.
Okay. I was born in a small township called Sebokeng in Vereeniging. The very close township to it is Sharpeville, so most people know Sharpeville because of the Sharpeville massacre. I was born in 1981. So that makes me 41 in January. I am the last born of 5. We were 5 kids. Unfortunately, I'm the only one left now. So
Wow.
I don't know what the correct English word is, but I am what is called a late Lameki, a late Lameki. So both my parents were over 40 when they had me, and I guess they were really bored. There was no entertainment. And voila, fortunate came.
Fortunately.
Yeah. So, I came, and like my parents, my dad somehow say that he knew that my mom was pregnant. But my mom never knew that she was pregnant because
Yeah.
then there was the menopause. She was on her periods, and then she was not on her periods. So she got confirmed very late of the pregnancy.
Okay. Yeah.
So they were never prepared for me. And my mom was also a healer, but more on the prophetic side of things, more on the church side of
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
So because none of them were sure that, like, my mom wasn't sure that she's pregnant. She thought she cannot get pregnant at her age. And because she was also going through the Bible side of the gift, the prophetic side. So when she went to hospital, I think she finally confirmed a week earlier that, no, you are definitely pregnant. So now both my parents are not working. My dad was recovering from TB. My mom had been unemployed. My mom was a business person then, but there was nothing happening in her life at that moment. So it's like their life came to a standstill when I was in the oven,
Wow.
you know. So then when she came back from hospital, because there was no clothes that were bought and both of them were unemployed, I came and my mom said she asked the nurses, is she human? So she asked, is she human? Is she a real person? Then like, yeah, she's a real person and she's a girl. And then apparently I cried. And then she's like, oh my God, I'm a mother again, the 4th time.
Wow. 5th time, you mean?
Yeah, 5th time.
Yeah.
And then, because I'm not sure if you've noticed, people from the St. John Apostolic Church, they wear blue and white, and they would
Yes.
have a white cape.
Yeah.
So because she was a prophet at the church, so wherever she went, she always went with a white cape. And there was, when I came out of hospital, there were no clothes. So I went home wrapped in this white cape.
Yeah.
And they had to wait for my uncle from Rustenburg to come after a month to get new clothes, to get me new clothes. So from the time I was born till I was a month old, I was wearing second-hand clothes.
Yeah.
So thank God there was a lady opposite that just had a baby, but her baby was a boy. So
So from secondhand to boy clothes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wearing second-hand boy clothes up
Yeah.
until my uncle.
Is that, I mean, you say it in a way, like, I mean, in our culture, which I guess you would describe then as a more, I don't know, Western or European culture. I mean, if you're a second child, you're definitely getting secondhand clothes. I mean, you're the 5th child,
Yeah.
so
I shouldn't be
it's logical.
expecting.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, I always believe in a new baby should wear new clothes because you don't want energy from old people.
Oh,
You
that's
don't-
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like now when you're old, it's okay. But remember when you're a baby, your auras are quite open. Your third eye and everything is quite open, and you become sensitive, and to spirits as well. So wearing second hand things, like, you don't know what energy those clothes are carrying. So that's just my opinion.
So is that your opinion also from your spiritual Sangoma? What would you say? Like you say, shamanistic?
Yes.
What's that word?
Shaman.
Yeah, but your Sangoma way, is that what you would say? Your Sangoma
Yeah. Yeah.
philosophy, like, okay.
Yeah. So I wouldn't honestly give a brand new baby secondhand clothes because of the energy and the child being very spiritual, like very super sensitive. That's why sometimes a baby, if the house has bad energy, a baby will cry. A child will not be happy because they pick it up. You see, so that's just my opinion. So yeah. So
But again, is that your opinion, or is that coming in from a sort of,
it's coming from a spiritual.
yeah. So it's
Point
not
of
just
view.
an opinion, it's
No.
also, okay.
Yeah. So then, my sister was 10 years older than me. My brother was 20-something years older than
Wow.
me. And the other one was 20-something years older than me. So
And what about the other one?
the other one died when he was 1 year, 6 months. So I
Okay.
never got to meet him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he the first?
No, he was the 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the 4th. Yeah. So then we lived, like, somehow my mom managed to bounce back. Then life was good. Our house
You mean
was...
bounce back after you were born?
Yes.
Yeah. A mother actually does need to bounce back, because I tell you what, childbirth and raising a little baby is like,
not easy.
that's full on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently I was a very sickly baby as a child, but they will never explain what was my sickness, what was I diagnosed of. They just said, no, you're very sick as a child. We never thought that you'd make it.
Did you breastfeed? Yeah.
Yeah, black women, you have to breastfeed. Remember, they were also not working. Where would they get money to buy a nan?
No, I'm just checking. I mean, I don't know. Like, I breastfed both my kids till they were 14 months old.
Wow.
Like, I'm full on maternal.
Yeah, no, I was
instinct.
breastfed.
Yeah.
I was breastfed, so I don't know what I was sick from. My mom never told me what I was sick from. The only thing that they know is that I was always very sick, and doctors could not help me. So then, the church, the St. John, the prophetic side, helped me. And then when the riots were going on, they decided, okay, since these two, my sister and I, are still young and they need to go through school, let us move them to Rustenburg.
So how old were you then?
I was 5.
Okay, so you were 5 when you moved. And you say the church helped you. How did they help you?
With the healing.
And how? What happened?
With the, I would thinking about it, it's actually energy healing. It's just that it's termed differently.
Yeah.
Where they would go, they lay hands on you, and like, because like, when I first went into energy healing, I'm like, this is not, I've not seen this in African culture. But then when you go back and you see that it is actually practiced, but it's just that they won't call it by name, So through energy healing, through prayers and everything. So then I recovered. I became a normal child. And yeah, so then at 5, the parents decided, okay, go to Buputatswana, go to school there. And that's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that was with your sister?
Me and my I think my sister was already there.
Yeah.
Was already going to school there. She just always used to come during the holidays.
Okay.
Yeah, so they decided, okay, you are also going. Yeah.
So what was it like then to, I mean, as a white person, born, bred, generations, being living in South Africa, it's normal for me to know of, in the African culture, that often the kids live with the grandparents.
Yeah.
Like that's, it's, so you grow up and it's a normality, right? But what was that like? How was that for you to just be dropped off there by your parents and then they leave and now you're living with granny?
It's very difficult, especially if you've lived with your parents before. But if you are born into that setup, you don't know anything better, or you don't know anything else. That's all that you know.
Yeah.
But the difference with me is that I was born in a house where I was the baby. All the attention came to me, and then and I know my mom, my dad is there. I would sleep in the middle, and I'm not saying that we're rich, but like looking back, then we had everything that we needed. We had a car, and like our house was one of the nicest house in the streets, and people would come home and ask for things, and they were always there. So we were living quite a nice life. Now you have to go to Rustenburg and live with your grandmother, and you're not the only child there anymore. There's so many of you.
Why?
Other cousins are there.
Also with your grandmother?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So you're not the only child. You're no longer the center of attention, and there are other cousins. The dynamics change.
Of course.
The dynamics change, and you have to get used to living with other people. You have to get used to sharing. You have to get used to other people wanting attention from the grandmother as well, and you have to get used to that. Oh, I'm not the only child, and like you some cousin, like I said to you, I was not a Tswana, I was a Sotho, so my dialect was a bit different, and they used to laugh at me on how I pronounce certain things and how I say certain things, and so it was.
And while you mention that, so again, for listeners not in South Africa, just tell our listeners how many South African languages there are. And
okay, in South Africa we've got 11 official languages. So
say the names of them.
We've got Sotho, that's who I am. There's Tswana, my maternal side. There's English, there's Afrikaans, there's Zulu, there's Xhosa, there's Ndebele, there's Venda, there's Tsonga, what else?
South Sotho.
South Sotho, yes,
Northern-
yeah.
and- yeah.
So the Sothos is South Sotho and Northern Sotho, yeah.
So, okay, so now everyone understands.
Yeah.
So you were coming into your grandmother's house.
Yes, being a Sotho girl.
Being a Sotho girl,
Yeah.
and then all the other cousins there are Tswana.
Yes.
So, but you understand each other, but it's not
Yeah,
just...
we understood each other. The language is almost similar, but just that it's not 100% similar. I would say it was like Afrikaans and Dutch.
Although you say that, but
Yeah.
I've lived in Holland for 11
Yeah.
years, and so you can understand one word here, one word there.
Yes,
But actually,
it's different.
when you're in a full-on conversation or to actually integrate. So would you say it's like that there?
Yeah.
Because actually, if you're sitting at the table with Dutch, I mean, now I'm fluent, but if you're sitting at the table with Dutch people and you're Afrikaans, I mean, I'm English speaking by first language, but I was fluent in Afrikaans. But if I was sitting at the table when I first arrived in Holland, you actually wouldn't understand. You get lost.
Okay, no, you could still
Exactly,
understand, like
yeah.
with Sotho and Tswana, you could still understand, just that some words and are quite different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, whereas Dutch and Afrikaans, this whole sentence construction is different.
Okay.
Yeah. But in the African languages, is the sentence construction quite similar?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's just then there's different wording.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here you were, and then so now just to paint the picture. So tell us from your 7th year, right? What? So we're not going to go into now necessarily what happened with
Okay.
you, but just tell us like. So after that moment, you switched that off. Like, what was your life? What? Tell me about your life leading up to just finishing school.
Okay. We lived with many cousins. Another sad thing that happened when my sister died. My sister,
the
yeah.
one that moved with you.
Yes.
What happened?
She got hit by a bus from school. So it was very sad. I think it was the same year we moved to. It was the same year because I remember it was in 1986. Yeah, so it was the same year.
So when you were 5.
Yeah, when we moved later in that year, she passed
So what
on.
was she? 15.
Yeah.
She was 10 years older.
She was
than
10
you.
years older than me. She was 15, beautiful girl, very beautiful, tall. So my parents are quite opposite. My mom is short and very fair in complexion, light. You'd swear that she's colored. And then my dad is tall and dark.
Yeah.
So my sister took my mom's complexion and my father's height.
Wow.
I took my mom's height and my father's complexion.
I like how you describe that.
So
Yeah.
in the household, I was the darkest, like my dad. So they used to call me Mansu, meaning Blackie. So my sister was very pretty. She was a very loved person in the village. Like if you have to go to Rustenburg now, people, they wouldn't call me by my name. They say, "Oh, that's Pinky's sister." So she was named Pinky because she was very light, very like light, like she was pink.
Okay,
So
yeah.
her name was Pinky. So she passed on. It was very sad. And I honestly don't think my mom ever recovered from that. Then I went to school as normal. Then I got into debate in primary school. I remember...
You got into the debating team.
Yes. I remember with my grandmother, when people used to clean in the house, I would I would find newspapers or magazine and be reading them in front of the mirror.
Oh, yeah.
We grew up in the era where there was no TV or electricity in the village. So we used to cook by the fire with a 3-legged pot.
Yes, the poiki pot.
The poiki pot, yeah.
Yeah.
And we used to fetch wood from the field. We used to fetch water from the river. So that's the era that I grew up with.
How
Then
far did you have to walk to get the water?
It was far. And
How far?
Like maybe a kilometer.
1 kilometer.
Yeah.
And did you?
But it was far.
Did
for
you
me.
manage it on your head?
Yes, and the water then I suffered from the nosebleed a lot. So
Why?
I don't know if I'm in the sun a lot. My
Okay.
nose just goes mad. So then my grandmother got fed up of them always having to stop and attend to my nose. She's like, you must just stay at home. So I guess God saved me. So I stopped going there anymore. And they're like, yo, this Sutu girl, she's coming here with
This little sensitive Sutu girl.
yeah, she's coming here with a nosebleed tendencies. Just stay at home.
Yeah.
So I was staying at home. So I stopped going to the bush for the firewood and to fetch water. So I think I was quite sensitive. Then we got through school with my cousins.
But you must have been given a role. In your culture, you wouldn't have been allowed to just sit on your backside all day.
No, I was expected to clean.
Okay, so
But
you would sweep and
we would sweep, and then my aunt
Wash.
would tell you when she comes back from work, she must see her reflection on the stoop.
is that what she would say? She wants
It
to
must
see
be
her.
squeaky clean. Like I want to see my reflection on the.
How do you
on the
say that in her
veranda.
language?
Ke batla ho ipona mo fatshe ha ke bua.
What were you just speaking there now?
Sutu.
Sutu.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was quite fun. I was expected to clean, and me being the person that I would, to be honest, I would time that, okay, if they go there, this is the time that they'll come back. So I'll be reading. I'd collect books and read loud in front of the
Mirror.
mirror. And we didn't have TV, so I didn't know who I was inspiring myself to be or whatever. The only thing that we had, my uncle had a radio that he would listen to. So I don't know if maybe I wanted to sound like the radio people or whatever. And I would be so happy doing it. I would be extremely happy doing it. Then my mom would come home once in a while, would bring you stuff. And you know, when my mom, I used to think that woman is weird. When I would complain to her, Mom, this is what they're doing to me, this and this and this, I want to go back home. She wouldn't even listen to me. She would just look at me and just go.
You know, I can imagine, like you saying this, right? I can imagine she needed to develop this sort of thick skin because it was the choice she had made. So, you know, when you, as a mom, I mean, I'm like, I think I'm I'm a great mom, but I'm not strong in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, I can't follow through with, you know, like sending them to the corner every time. I'm strict, but I could never ground my children because I could not stick to that. So do you know what I mean? Like once you open that door of there's a possibility, boy, oh boy, does that child know how to make sure that door goes open. You know what I mean? In a way, I can imagine she was just protecting you also, not having known what happened to you.
Yeah.
But had you said this after that incident happened to you, or had you said this before even, that you wanted to go home, people are not nice here?
I think it was after that because when the incident happened, I was in hospital for some time. And then
After that incident?
Yeah, because I had issues with tonsillitis.
So it was for that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't speak at school. So they're like, oh, your daughter is not speaking. We don't know why. And like, so it was the medical thing. So before then, I always said, I want to go home because my sister is also no longer there. I couldn't relate to anybody. All these people were making fun of me, of my accent, and that, oh, your mother just, you know, kids can be mean sometimes. Your mother just dumped you here and she's back in Joburg enjoying her life, this and this and this. And then it was like, it was difficult. Then I don't know what happened between my parents, but they also went through a dark patch and there was a separation. My mom lost the businesses that she was doing, then everything. So then she couldn't provide. My dad used to work in a glass company, so they would see all these stained glasses that you see at Sun International. My dad created them. So
Really? Sun International?
like Sun City, Wild Coast Sun. So every time I go there, I'm like, oh, that's my dad's work.
Oh, wow. And what do they have? Stained glass where? Where is it? So
at the welcome, in Sun City is the welcome center.
Yeah.
I haven't been there in more than 5 years, so I don't know if they're still there or if they've removed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sun City, guys, for those of you who don't know it, Sun City is just a really beautiful like holiday resort in
Yeah.
the middle of the bush.
Yes.
Like you literally right near Kruger. Well, you kind of near
Kruger,
the
Pilanesberg.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the oldest luxurious holiday resorts
Yeah.
in South Africa, and it's always a go-to for
Like
holiday
if you have to
makers.
come to South Africa, you have to go to Sun City.
Sun City, at least for 2 nights.
Yes.
I wouldn't stay longer.
And it's one of those beautiful inland resort that has a man-made beach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With really massive waves and
Yes.
whatever. But I mean, which is a contrast to obviously being in the bush, right? Near
That's
the
true.
elephants and
That's
everything.
true. But
But
you can also go to the Pilanesberg Game Reserve and Madikwe Game Reserve,
Yes.
which is almost on the same road.
Yes.
If you want to see your big fives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm advertising my first.
It's okay. But your dad did the stained glass thing.
Yes.
Did he actually design it, or was he the maker?
He was the maker.
Wow.
Not the designer. He was
Yes.
the maker. The design came. They're like, oh, Mishak, do this. Then he was very good.
Yeah.
So then my dad was working. Then they went through a very difficult time. Then they were on a very huge
Break.
separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then my dad went to go and stay with my mom. Went to go and stay with a sister, who was a domestic worker in Parkhurst, just around the corner from here.
Yeah.
So then, because my mom was not working, and then there's this child that needs to go to school, and my brothers were already in varsity then.
Yes.
So then a lot of things happened, like emotionally. Like I was always complaining, Mama, I don't want to be here. And then Mama's like, my child, please just give me time. Let me at least work. And from my mom being a business person, from my mom being a private nurse with one of the best doctors in the country, to now being a domestic worker.
Yeah.
So it was quite hard for her. So she then, her sister then found a job for her in Parkhurst. Then she worked there. And then later on, the lady that she used to work for, Sally MacArthur, she's back in London now, said, you know what, you always tell me about your daughter. And like I went there once on some holidays and we really got along, you know. And Sally said, no, just bring her over. So that's how I got to go to school in Greenside High School.
Wow.
So it was.
So again, I guess I'm always factoring in that I've got listeners all over the world,
Yes.
and we use terms that maybe they're not familiar
Yeah.
with. But obviously, the domestic worker being, she was cleaning the house
Yes.
of this woman.
Yes.
She obviously stayed on the property,
Yes.
and she invited you to
Yeah.
come. All right, and stay there.
And stayed.
That's actually amazing, because
Yes.
I mean, we're in the process of buying our own property, but in the meantime, we're renting and we don't have the space for a domestic worker to live there. We obviously have her coming in every day, but my domestic worker's just had a baby, like 2 days ago. She had a little boy.
Okay.
And, you know, and I said to her, I was crying before she left, and it was our last goodbye, and I actually just started to cry, and I said, are you okay? And, you know, I was just like, just call me if you need help. I don't know, just also... You know, I don't know, like, is she going to be okay? You know? And so I was crying, and then, you know, I was giving her a big hug, and then I could just feel her energy and her anxiety, and just like, you know, she does have another child who lives with her grandparents in Malawi. Okay,
yeah.
so I know that as well. And anyway, and then I went off in the car to rush and go fetch my kids, and anyway, I called my husband to put her on the phone.
Yeah.
And I just said to her, listen, you know, have your baby, and when you feel you're ready then to come back, just come back with the baby, because, you know, the especially the African culture, they just literally,
Carry the baby at the
they
back.
carry the baby on their back all the time in those blankets or maternity, what do you call them?
Those kangaroo, whatever.
Whatever, but it's always on the back, so I mean,
Yes.
literally that baby lives on your
Yeah.
back the whole time. But yeah, so it's, you know, but I also know it's a commitment from my side to say,
Yes.
listen, you know, just come back with the baby, and let's see how it goes, you know. But it's such, you know, South Africa is not like Europe where you get all this support, and The government pays for everything. And
True, especially her being from Malawi, she won't even get the social grant.
yeah. I mean, I've been impressed with the medical treatment and her medical sessions with the doctor,
Yeah.
and so that's I've been quite impressed with, actually. She's had her regular checkups,
Yeah.
but so going back to your story,
Yeah.
it's a big thing that Sally MacArthur said.
Yes.
Just bring you.
Yeah, just bring your
Yeah.
daughter, then so that you don't worry as well.
Yes.
Because she and only to find out that she was also intuitive.
Sally.
Yes.
Really.
She did tarot reading, and that's where I learned about crystals from.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the age of 13, 14, I don't remember how old I was. Then it was that time that also Chris Hani just died. It was that transformation of going from apartheid into this. Mandela was already released, but Chris Hani also...
What year was it? 90?
I think it was...
After 94 then, because he
Yes.
was released 94.
94. Then the year that Chris Hani died, I came to Johannesburg the following year. So I think 96, 97, somewhere there.
Okay, yeah.
So then I came to Johannesburg to stay with my mom. Beautiful, like the best thing that has ever happened to me, because it's just me and my mom. Okay, the room was small, but it was happy. It was very blissful. We had our room. We could eat whatever mom was preparing for supper there, and then I had to wash the dishes for after supper. Then I would have to babysit on weekends. So it was okay. I didn't mind. Then in our room there was TV. Our room was like, it had a bathroom as well. So now for the first time I can have a proper bath, in a bath. I am living the life.
And you can actually turn a tap on and you have water right there.
I don't have to go to fetch water. Everything is just right there with me. But coming from a rural area and coming to Joburg for the first time, it is so scary.
Is it?
Because there are big lights everywhere, and the only lights that we could see from home was the lights at Sun City.
Yeah.
Because my village is about like 7 kilometers to Sun City.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay. It was a bit offensive in the beginning. Then you don't get used to
Yeah.
it. Then there were buses. Then there was
Fast
Zoo
cars
Lake.
and-
Yes.
yeah.
No, then there was Zoo Lake. Then there was TV that I could switch on and off. Then I am sitting next to a white person. I'm sleeping in their bed. And then I'm sitting with the white person's daughter and reading her stories and everything. And then sleeping. So it was...
What was that like? What was the conversation you had in your head at that time?
Because I think somehow with me collecting the books at a young age and reading in front of the mirror and also doing the debate, I was quite confident in speaking English. It was not perfect, but I was very confident.
You were comfortable within
I
yourself.
I was very comfortable. I knew that I can hold a conversation with a white person. I was not afraid of them. Okay, at the beginning, the blue eyes were a bit scary, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the blonde hair, because then you look at the hair, like, it looks like cat's hair,
Really? The blue eyes and blonde hair.
And blonde hair, like, yeah, coming from a place where you've never seen a white person before.
Yeah.
Now, there's this white person that you are with 24 hours, So I was quite confident, and I think I was very happy as well because I'm with my mom.
Yeah.
I felt at peace. I felt secure. I felt protected, and like I could see everything that she was going through, and I could help her, then she could help me. Then they registered me at Greenside High School, so I had to repeat 1 year because the standard was not the same. So I had to repeat the year, which was okay because I was still of the right age. So Greenside High School, at the beginning, I think because subconsciously I was not confident. Physically, I was not confident in myself. And I used to wear oversized baggy clothes, just to protect myself. And unfortunately, as you can see, I'm quite big busted.
Well, you say unfortunately. Well, unfortunately, as you can see, I'm the opposite.
I'll give you some.
Let's share.
Yeah. So there's a boy that I liked. I never knew.
But you wore school uniform anyway.
Yeah, I wore school uniform, but it was baggy. Like the shirt was
Okay.
oversized, and
Yeah.
and I never did swimming. I don't think I can swim up to today. So the reason why I did not do swimming, because I was very uncomfortable changing in the room with girls, because they all had small boobs, and
Yeah.
here comes this girl with heavy.
But I mean,
know?
you said earlier at the beginning, you said I don't want to be a snob, but I went to school with colours,
Yeah,
blacks,
whites,
whites.
yeah.
So I mean, you're surely going to get another person with big boobs in that crowd.
To be very honest, in let's say the grade that I was in,
Yeah.
I was the biggest. They used to call me Dolly Parton.
Serious. What a way that's a compliment.
And then I did not see it as a compliment, because it honestly bothered me, because you look around, then you sort of become aware that, okay, I look a bit different. At home, didn't matter. Now I'm like, okay, I look a bit different. Like these girls are skinny, and I'm a little bit on the big side. And I actually, looking back at it, I only gained weight when they removed my tonsils. Other than that, I was a skinny child. So I don't know what that has to do with. Maybe because it's a thyroid, then the thyroid affects also your metabolism and everything. So, yeah. So I realized that I shouldn't have removed the tonsils. And I always say to myself, if I have a daughter, she's not removing her tonsils. She must.
Or maybe and it's not just in Catherine's conversation, but in many conversations that I've had with people, and also my coaching sessions, it's, you carry weight to protect yourself as well.
That's true.
So if you saying it's the tonsils, but it could have also been after what had
Yes,
happened.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's true. So then I never swam, because I was not feeling comfortable changing in front of the other girls in school, in the gym room. And I never did any sports, because my bust would be painful.
To run, if you didn't
run,
have like a proper sports bra.
Sports bra. Then I knew my mom couldn't afford a sports bra then. But I did singing. I was with the choir, and I did a bit of drama. And I got involved in the debate team again, but they were better than me. Remember in the village, I was this girl that can speak English properly. So
Yes.
our team would always win. But then we are in this team where, you come across like, I know, debate is my thing.
And then you get there and you're like, you got to do some work, girl.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I want to be in the debate anymore.
Yeah.
So then I think I left the debate team because I wasn't confident anymore, because there were people better than me.
Yeah.
So I was scared of competition somehow. And then there's a boy that liked me at school, but he didn't want to go out with me, a black boy, because my boobs were bigger. And there was this thing then that from black families, if you have big boobs, that means you're sleeping around.
Really?
Yeah. They would say you're a loose girl, something like that. And like, it really hurt me, because I knew what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so like, then I became a little bit depressed. Then I remember that I wanted to kill myself.
For real?
Yes.
Or was it just a thought,
For
like
real.
a teenage
I
thought?
mixed jig and domestos and spirit, and I drank.
You actually tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
How old were you then?
I was 16.
In Sally MacArthur's house.
Yes.
Wow.
Then on the very same day, a dog bit me.
To say, that's karma, babe. That's brilliant.
A dog
You
bit
can laugh about it now, obviously.
Yes.
But I mean, that's hectic.
Yeah.
You really actually tried to commit suicide.
Yes, I did. And
So you mix jig, which is like bleach.
jig domestos. And
Domestos
spirit.
is like proper, not eco-friendly cleaning product.
And methylated spirit.
And methylated spirit, which is basically what sets everything on fire.
Mm.
Wow.
And
Did you drink it?
Yes.
How much?
It wasn't a lot because it tasted awful.
But seriously,
Yes, I did.
where was your mom at work?
My mom was...
Well, she was in the house cleaning or
Yeah.
what? Really?
No, my mom was not there. My mom loved horse racing. So it was a Saturday. So she had gone to...
The races.
Yeah, to the races. And she always used to go with me. But that day I said, no, I don't want to go. But it's because I knew what I wanted to do.
Didn't you feel somewhere in your teenage mentality, didn't you feel at all like your mom's already lost a child? How can I do this? Or were you so self-absorbed in your own story?
I was very self-absorbed because unaware what that guy had said triggered the truth.
Triggered what had happened when you were
Yes,
7.
because like if the perception was that, African people would see a girl with big boobs as a loose person, meaning that you're sleeping around. I wasn't sleeping around. I was scared of boys.
Yeah.
I that's why when we had CVs, I would wear very loose t-shirts, baggy pants, so that I can cover up and nobody can see this
Yeah.
thing. And my mother never used to understand, why are you always wearing My mom is a feminine person. My mom is the type of person, she wakes up in the morning, she baths, she puts on her makeup, even if it's just lipstick and eye pencil. And then here's this daughter that's looking like somehow like her father, and she just wears baggy clothes. She never used to understand. But I later explained to her that this is how I felt. And then she said, no, but they don't know. At school, they don't know that you were raped. And they don't know. It's just you feeling that way, that they can see through you.
Yeah.
You see?
But you hadn't discussed the rape with your mom yet?
No, my mom knew.
No, she knew, but you hadn't discussed it with her only until now.
Yeah. So, but that discussion, we had it later on in the year, that like later on when I was after when I was in the process of the divorce, after I found out, I'm like, this is what I was doing, covering up at school, but I wasn't aware that I was doing it.
That must have been quite an amazing conversation in a way, like as shocking as it was, because truth sets you free, right?
Yes.
So that's, I mean, it's and that's actually, it's the not the lie, but it's the withholding, which is what creates sickness and just the sense of not wanting to, like in your case, not wanting to live. But just going back now first to that time you tried to commit suicide. I mean, so what happened? You drank a little bit and then?
I drank, then I stopped because I felt that my throat was in fire. Like I felt like I'm gonna burn, And like, to be honest, at that moment it was better to be with my sister.
Yes.
Who I
Your
believed,
dead sister.
I believed was in heaven.
Yes.
Than to be in this horrible life. And yes, I was enjoying living in the quarters with my mom. Life was good. Like I could eat lasagna. I was introduced to new things. But that moment I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be in this world, And like, I thought maybe if I drink it, it would act fast. But it didn't. It tasted horrible. And then after that, I went out then to take a walk just to try and refresh. And there was a river, there was a park. So I wanted to go there and sit there because for some odd reason, I would feel so peaceful when I'm there. And I actually thought I was closer to my sister when I was in that specific spot. It's on 3rd Avenue in Parkhurst. So on my way back, walking back to the house, then a dog bit me.
So you went to the river,
Yeah.
but obviously you'd only taken a little sip of this stuff,
Yeah.
so it didn't kill you.
No, it didn't kill
But
me.
you must have vomited or something.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. So when the dog bit me, then the lady of the house called an ambulance. So they took me to hospital. And then then they checked, they wanted to give me a shot. Then I actually opened up to this lady. I said, you know what, I'm not feeling well. This is what happened. so they decided to hospitalize me. So I always say that was God working in mysterious ways.
The dog bite was actually saving your life.
Yeah, because then I started feeling somehow. Then I went to the hospital. Then they checked. Oh, we have to give you a rabies shot just in case it was rabies. I'll show you the scar.
Rabies,
right now.
yeah.
I'll show you the scar from the dog. It was quite deep. Then I said to this lady, okay, I see that, ne? But I have a problem here.
You said that,
Yeah. And she said to me, what happened? Then I started crying and I told her what happened. And then they decided to hospitalize me, and they booked me to see a
Psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Did they pump it out? Or
Yes.
They pumped it out, so
Yeah.
they put a pipe down your throat.
Yeah.
My child.
Yeah. So, like, that's how I got help. Then I saw a psychiatrist. I think I just went once because I honestly felt that maybe because I did not understand the duty of a psychologist or psychiatrist, that I'm talking, it's not helping me. I feel worse after telling you my story. So how is it helping me? Then I went back home. I explained to my mom. My mom was very angry. And then she was like, but how could you do that? You're going to get me into trouble, and you will go to hell. People that kill themselves don't go to heaven, they go to hell, and this and this and this. I'm like, okay. All right. So I got over it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got over it.
And it's funny, in that psychiatry session, was it a psychologist or psychiatrist?
Psychologist, I think.
Psychologist. It's interesting
In
that
hospital.
still the story had not revealed itself about your rape.
Yeah, no.
Is that because you did say when they teased you about your breast, right? You said that is what's triggered the suicide attempt, because you knew what had happened to
Yes.
you. But then you also said earlier on in the conversation that you had forgotten what had happened to you.
Yes.
So at what point did you really shut it out? Because you
I
still
think
knew.
I still knew it happened, but I think after they trying to commit suicide.
Then that's when you said, okay, put all this
Yeah.
shit behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it was a closed chapter.
Okay.
And then I got through with school. Life was good. Matric dance. Went to the matric dance.
Which is our final year in South
Yes,
Africa,
yeah,
matric.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to London.
Mm-hmm.
I studied a little bit there, but I couldn't finish. I came back home because my mom was sickly. Then that's.
Well, how did you get to London? It's quite expensive.
I used to work in my matric year. I used to work in 2 bakeries.
Okay.
Yeah, in Killarney Mall there was a La Concorde Bakery, and in was Jan Smart Avenue at
Yeah.
Fornos.
Yeah.
So then I saved a lot, and okay, I didn't go immediately after matric. Then I did some acting jobs also in my matric year, because after seeing Felicia Mabuza settle, I wanted to become like a TV presenter, motivational speaker. But first I wanted to become a doctor. But then Sally showed me a video of her giving birth. Then I'm like, I am not going to become a doctor.
That did it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Although doctors aren't, anyway, that's more a gynecologist,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
But
still, it was like
still like
blood.
I'm not doing all of that. I'm good. I'm not doing all of that. So then and also realizing that you need to do maths, and I had dropped maths already.
Of course, yes. Very important subject as a doctor, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, being a doctor, it's not it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and I loved Felicia Mabuza Sattel. I loved her energy, and everything. So I used to watch her. I think she was on Tuesdays or Thursdays. I would watch her every day at 9. No, I just loved her energy and everything. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to become that. Then I did some acting jobs. I got paid for it, and so with the money from that, that's how I got to
London.
go to London. And it was not. It was expensive, but because I had saved for it, it was okay.
Yes, yeah.
And with the help of Sally as well, because she had moved back.
She had gone back to London.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So with her help as well, and yeah. So then I came back because my mom was sick, and
But what were you studying there?
public relations.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to. I didn't want to come back home.
Okay.
I wanted to start
A life there.
a life there, and like, and it was nice. I don't want to lie, it was nice. It was happy moments of my life.
Were you staying with Sally, or where were you staying?
No, I had accommodation of my own because I was in London, and Sally was in Worcestershire, which is a village.
Yeah.
Village, or how do they pronounce it?
Village.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is in the village side.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, it's not your typical South African village, but yeah, there's electricity there.
Nothing in England is typical South African. I lived there for 8 years.
Yeah.
It's great, but it's not South African.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I found funny when I moved to London was, you know, in South Africa, it's only the black people that do the dustbins.
Yeah.
And then do the domestic work. Then you get there, it's like, okay, what is happening here?
Yeah, it's only white people
It's
doing the
only
rubbish
white
bins.
people doing the rubbish bins. What's wrong?
Yeah. And actually, the first time I went to England, I heard a black guy speak, and I was like, whoa, hold on a second. This guy's got like a proper English accent. So for me, that was also like growing up in South Africa. That was actually quite a shock. I'll never ever forget that. The first time I was like, whoa, like you're waiting for an African colloquialism, you know, like the African accent.
Yes.
So, all right. So you came back, your mom was sick, and then what?
And then I lived with my life was on hold for a bit. Then I tried going back to the acting scene. It wasn't happening anymore, and I'm okay. Not that it wasn't happening. It was not easy.
It wasn't flowing.
It wasn't flowing.
Yeah.
Then I wanted to go to school full time, and then I'm like, okay, maybe let me register at university. Then I'm like, okay, I don't want to do public relations anymore. I want to do international relations because I want to be a diplomat.
Okay.
Because I want to be out of this country.
Yeah.
So my brothers had promised to pay my registration, but it didn't happen. So yeah. And then I met a man. That I don't know if I was in love or infatuation or whatever. And then like I promised me the world, and we loved one another. Then I got some acting gigs now and then. Then few months, a year down the line, I got pregnant.
Okay.
I was 22. No, I was 22. Then I got pregnant, and then Mama's like, Forge, what you doing? We don't do it in my place. So then I got married. We got married. Looking back, had I known myself then, I wouldn't have gotten married. I wouldn't have. There's a book that I read, and I resonate so much. No, it was not a book. It was somebody that I listened to, and I resonate with that person's words so much that he said, what we're doing nowadays is exchange. Like, if I give you my love, what are you going to give me in return? It's not that pure love like they used to have. It's like, what are you promising me? What can you bring to the table? And what can I give you in return? So I honestly think
Who's this guy?
I forgot his name. I'll try and remember his name.
From South Africa,
No,
from
no, no.
America, or
He looks
England?
Indian.
Indian
Yeah,
guy.
he looks Indian. It's not Sadhguru. It's somebody else. I'll try and find his name. He said, "Love is not what it used to be. Nowadays we are exchanging things." And I realized that when I got married, I don't think it was because I was so in love with this person. I think because I was running away from an issue and I wanted somewhere to belong. And he was promising to give me that, or he was giving me that. So that's why I somehow settled, or that's how I agreed to marry this man, because I wanted to belong. I was running away from the reality of I never fit in at home properly, and now all of a sudden there's no home. My sister is not there. My parents are separated. My cousins, there's this history of unspoken rivalry. And now I'm going to start my own family. I'm going to belong somewhere where I felt I was appreciated. You know? So then
But your mom also said you're not going to do this here, so you had to find a place.
Yeah.
Because you were staying with your mom when you came back.
Yeah.
So you also had to find a place.
You
also had no choice.
Yeah.
Right?
And there was no stable work. You know? And
what was he doing?
His family had a clothing company, traditional clothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this the same guy and the husband that you have now recently divorced?
Yes.
Okay, so you stayed together for how long?
For a very long time.
Yeah, because that was when you were in your 20s.
Yeah,
so this is already what? So then what, about 25 years? 25? How many?
20.
20 years of marriage.
Yeah. So it was okay at the beginning. Had my first child, then there was infidelity matter and there was things. Then I got work. I studied.
What did you study?
I was able to finish the public relations in South Africa. So I studied that. Then I somehow ended up working for an airline.
Okay.
I think because I really wanted a job.
You wanting to just get out of here?
Yes.
It's like, what's the closest I can get to international? It would be OR Tambo.
That's true. That's a good way of putting it, yeah. So I worked for SAA for a very long time.
Doing what?
At first it was customer service. Then we moved.
Tough job.
Yeah.
Hey, customer service for an airline.
Yeah, it was very tough. The complaints were
horrendous.
horrendous.
Yeah. All right, and then?
Then we moved to we used to do stakeholder relations for government and the sales things. So that's how I ended my career in the airline. So I got to meet a lot of people, very interesting figures, powerful. Not powerful. They consider themselves as powerful, but people in high positions in life. So I got to meet a lot of people. I got to travel the world a bit as well. And then now all of a sudden, I'm going through this difficult time in my marriage.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to meet Catherine.
Yes.
Because the psychologist was not working for me. And then I'm like, okay, no, this is not working for me. Now I'm having these dreams about having to hit the traditional calling and all of this.
You were having dreams about it.
Yeah.
So sorry, just for my clarity, so you were working for SAA?
Yes.
And then you moved to another company or just
No,
within
I was still
SAA?
I was still within SAA.
No, okay. So that's why you were then traveling. So, and what was the title?
I was a PR specialist within the government and the stakeholder relations.
What exactly is that? What was the job?
Actually, you asked me the title, so that was the title. that was the title.
I love this about these corporate jobs. I mean, you get titles that you need to have. If your job title is not self-explanatory to a child,
Yes.
you need to question Okay, what exactly do I do?
Yes.
Right.
So for me, it was just a glorified word for looking after government ministers and VIP clients
In travel.
in travel.
Okay, fabulous.
Yeah.
All right. So you traveled. Why did you travel though?
One of the departments that I worked for required me to travel
With
with the airline. No.
Okay.
Just to see how the other stations are doing and all of those things.
Okay.
So that was nice.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
And when you traveled, where was your child?
My mom was still alive then, so they would be with my mom and their dad.
Okay. Your mum wasn't living with you, was she?
No,
Okay. So in Joburg.
in Joburg.
Yeah.
So every time I would go away, then we would
Take
bring
the
her
kids.
in. Yeah.
Oh, your mum would come stay with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a helper, but it's always nice having a familiar face. You
definitely.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always nice having a familiar face, and that if anything goes wrong, you know that, oh, mom is there. you
And
know?
as women, I mean, we trust our moms, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Let's face it. So, all right. So this now, in the meantime, you're traveling, you're doing this international job, helping all these big egotistical people, and your marriage is failing, and you're seeing a psychologist.
Yes.
And
And I'm having these weird dreams about.
And you're having dreams about
Yes.
getting into traditional healing.
Yeah.
And we call that being a Sangoma.
And I don't want it because I'm like, my life is perfect right now. Why do you want to mess it up?
But it wasn't perfect because your marriage was failing.
My marriage was failing, but everything else outside the marriage was perfect. I was
Yeah.
working for a big company. I was like, the salary was good. I've got 2 beautiful kids, and like, today I could be in Malawi, tomorrow I could be in Cape Town, tomorrow I
Yeah.
could be in Durban.
Yeah.
So that for me was perfect because then somehow I could run away from this hell by
Yes.
traveling,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And then it was also easier just to say,
Or
oh,
avoid the truth.
yes. So it was also easier for me to like, okay, I'm going to Durban for a weekend because I was working for an airline. The flights was close to nothing. Holidays, accommodations, we got concessions as well. So I could just say, okay, I'm going to Durban for a weekend. Or I'm going to wherever for a weekend. Or I'm going to London or wherever. So it was easier. It made traveling a lot easier and affordable,
Yeah.
you know.
So what was it like? So when exactly did you separate?
In 2012.
So 2012. So it's not actually that recent.
Yeah.
So when did you meet Catherine? What year?
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Okay.
10 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2011.
Okay. So 2011 you met her, 2012 you got separated. And so since 2012, what have you been doing?
Okay. Since 2012, I met Catherine. I was still working for SAA till 2015. So I've been practicing I was practicing as a healer, but not a traditional healer.
Not a Sangoma.
Yeah, not a Sangoma, but as an energy healer, as an intuitive counselor. That's what I was practicing, but still work. Because to me, I felt like I'm doing the healing work, so it does not matter if I'm doing the traditional part or not. Like it's all healing, and I'm so happy that I was able to go through Catherine's training first before I did the traditional one. I did my Sangoma training in 2019. So
who did you do that through?
Through my mentor called Mosalanga. Yeah.
Who's that?
She's one of you know how I met her? I was going through crystal healing classes. Then that's how I met her. And she's a very strong lady. She's a traditional healer. She's based in Pretoria, but when she does the traditional things, she goes back home in Soweto. Yeah, so that's who I met, and me and her, we resonated a lot because we both came from the energy healing training background.
With Catherine or?
No, she went through somebody different. I think she went through with Joshua. Yeah.
Who's Joshua?
Joshua is a healer as well. He's a soul healer. He's a white guy. So I don't know why we always go to those white people first.
Well, I don't know. We need to find out what the answer is. No. But I mean, I think it's also you're living in a city now, right?
Yes.
If you were living in the township area
It would be
or
different.
in the villages, it would be different. Yeah. So, but okay, so she went to Joshua, but you met at the crystal healing.
Yes.
And then because she was already a Sangoma.
Yes, and she had already been training people, and because we're the only two black people there,
Yeah.
we just clicked.
Yes, of
and like
course.
we during coffee we would just speak our language
Yes.
and like yeah, and then so then for some odd reason I got to open up to her about these dreams that I've been having. And then she's saying, oh, but you need to honor your traditional healing side. I'm like, but I'm doing the healing already. Then she sat me down and explained to me the importance of honoring your ancestors. And also, because when you go through the training, you're also healing your ancestral line. And then once they are healed, it will be very easier for you to continue with your life as normal. And not to say that my life is perfect right now. I mean, I had an accident a few weeks ago.
Just before we were supposed to meet.
Yeah. So then she explained to me then, but obviously me being Catherine's spiritual child, I would always, Ma, I met this lady, this and this and this. Do you think this is it? But my child, I've been telling you to do it and you don't want to listen. You have to honor your ancestors, you know? And then so I'm like, okay, my life was falling apart. I was losing everybody in my family.
Yeah.
My mom died.
Really?
Yeah, my mom died. My dad died.
I-
my
I-
brothers died.
Everyone.
Everyone. So that's why I'm the only one left.
That's the same as Catherine. How crazy.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking when you were telling the story earlier, thank God that your mom was alive, that you could have that conversation
Yes.
with her, to just as an adult now talk about that rape and really have closure on that.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah. I'm very grateful, and I still do miss my mom now and then. I still think that there are conversations that we didn't have, but I'm very grateful that we're able to have that particular conversation, because then she told me without being emotional
Yes.
about it, and she said the reason that we kept quiet and we didn't ask you because every time we would ask you, you would cry and you wouldn't want to talk about it, and we respected that. Then I asked her, but why did you never bring it up? And she said, no, it was not my decision to do that. Because if I had said that, then maybe you were going to be in denial that it never happened and whatever. And
or you could be angry.
Yes.
You could put anger onto your mom
Yes.
for saying, how could she say
yes,
such?
yeah. So I'm very glad that it happened when she was still alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long after you'd had that conversation did she pass away?
My mom passed away in 2017, so I'm thinking 3 years before that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 years before that.
So how did you get your first customer as first of all as a healer and then as a Sangoma? And how was it different?
Okay, as a healer, I work on referral basis. As a healer trained with Catherine, Catherine would have the details on the website. And then I was also invited, I think years ago, to speak about soul retrieval on Power FM. And then, but that was before I became the Sangoma. So I then had.
So your childhood dream came true.
Yes,
Wait, hey?
it did come true. I actually did some community radio station last year, but the radio station didn't do too well. So they
closed.
they closed down. So I do love radio, to be honest, and I still want to be a motivational speaker one day. I want to be able to use my story to make somebody else's life better, or to make them realize that it's not the end of the world.
So now that you're saying that, so what is your message to people who have been raped or gone through a tragedy of losing a sibling, like in a crash, or trying to commit suicide? you know, well, what is your advice to all? I mean, you speak to so many scenarios,
Yes,
you
yeah.
know, what is your advice to them?
It's not your fault. Forgive yourself and learn to love yourself again. That's how I did it. And because at the beginning, especially when you read on the newspapers, there was a year in South Africa where women or girls were scared to wear short dresses because men would say, "Oh, you are wearing that. How can I not? You are inviting me."
Mm-hmm.
So then I realized that it's not our fault, and you need, once you start loving yourself again after the incident, then you'll be able to conquer all the other inner demons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're referring to a situation when you're an adult.
Yeah.
You were raped when you were 7.
Yes.
So you weren't walking around with, you weren't even
No,
aware of
I was
your
a child. I
clothes.
didn't know anything about anything.
So what about that? How would you speak to that person who's now an adult, but maybe something happened when they were younger?
It's quite difficult to, when you are a child, then it happens. It actually, every time I hear about rape to kids, when I hear about it on the news or TV, I actually switch off. My womb becomes so painful. Like,
Can imagine.
it's like there's something that's pressing on it. So physically, I feel the pain. But most of the kids, I've also realized that most of the kids don't remember what happened, but then they should be able to talk about it. Especially if you're at that age where you remember, you should be able to tell somebody else. You know, don't keep quiet about it. Seek for help, even if the person threatened to kill you, or even I was listening to a story the other day on radio where this girl said there was where her uncle was continuously raping her to an extent that she was actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's sad. So for me, and she said she felt that when her uncle was not doing it, there's something that she did wrong.
Wow. So that psychological impact really did its work. Huh?
Yeah. So for me, if you're a child, then it's happening to you. Find somebody that you can talk to. Maybe not your family, but maybe a teacher at school, maybe somebody from church, some elder that you can trust, that you know that they will protect you.
Not the coconut maths teacher,
No.
for example.
No.
Like someone that you... And you know, the funny thing is, as a child, your intuition is so strong. You still even have a sense of trust.
Yes.
I mean, of course you have a sense of trust. But you do have a sense of who you can connect with. And,
True.
And obviously, I mean, our show is not speaking to 7-year-old audience now. But... I mean, let's switch that around. So what are, you know, what about, what about from the adult perspective, if you know something has happened to a child, to your sibling's child, like what would your advice be to that adult who knows about it?
Do something about it. There's Teddy Bear Clinic, I think in Johannesburg Hospital. There's a lot of facilities that you can always take a child, they go and check and verify. Tell the child that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay for them. Make the child feel safe.
Yeah.
Because if a child does not feel safe, believe you me, they will not talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and teach a child about things that shouldn't happen to them. Like when this thing happened to you, raise an alarm. You know, speak to somebody about it. So do something. If you're an adult, you suspect that something is happening to your child or your niece or something. Because even boys nowadays get raped.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Not only nowadays, way back thousands of years ago.
Just that people didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So if you are aware that something is happening, do something about it. Just don't sit there and say, oh, I'm waiting for the child to tell me.
And what's your advice on, so I'm a mom, I've got a daughter, a little boy. So my daughter's 7, right? You were 7 years old when you were raped. Like, so last night, for example, we were watching a program and she's like, you know, she's lying on the couch and like her feet are up in the air and then her bum's in the air and, you know, And then my brother arrived, and obviously he's he's a man, and even though he's my brother, I don't know, as a woman, I still feel this very, very, very strong instinct to make sure that
Your
I
child is
protect
safe.
that you I don't know if it's a mother thing but to protect my child from any I don't know what the word is, but interference
Yes,
in her
yeah.
feminine space,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even if it's visually. I'm not, and of course I'm not saying this about my brother. It's just that a man. But how do you say to a child so you don't give her the impression that I
What
don't know,
she's
you don't
doing
want
is
to mess
wrong.
up her
Yes.
mind.
Yes, because also
So
she'll
how
be
do
like,
you
"Oh,
manage
but why?
that?
I'm just
I
playing."
know she's just
Yeah.
like, she's just
Yeah.
7-year-old with her feet in the air, but I mean literally like, wow,
Yeah.
like, so how do you negotiate that as a mom or parent?
I think it's very difficult. I always say I'm grateful to God that I wasn't blessed with a daughter, because I wouldn't know how to deal with one.
Yeah.
I've got 2 boys, so there's an age of a child that a child is just innocent. So no matter what you say to them, when you say, "Oh, don't play around like this," when other people are here, it's like, she's just a child.
Yeah.
So maybe have the conversation that maybe when there are people around, she mustn't just. But it's family, so she wouldn't understand.
Well,
it.
this is the thing. You know what I said?
Yeah.
What I actually did say, I said, I'm sorry I got cross. I said,
Yeah.
listen, babes, I just want to say I'm really sorry I got cross. Because I actually just eventually like cracked. I just like screamed. And I don't know where that comes from in me. I mean, I went to an all-girls boarding school, whatever. I grew up with 3 older brothers. And so I don't know where that comes from, but I literally just cracked. And I was like, Amelie,
Close your legs.
yeah, like exactly something, whatever. So, and then I said, listen, I'm really sorry I cracked like that. I said, it's something I feel very strongly about.
Yeah.
Is if you are flashing your bum and your panties and whatever around, like it's just something I feel very strongly about it. And I said, it's just that there are some people in this earth that are weird, and they would enjoy watching you flash your bum around.
True.
And it's just, they sick in the head.
It's true.
So that's kind of like what I said with hopefully, and it seemed to kind of bounce off. So I think it registered, but then, but not like.
But I think you need to have that conversation with her again, because I don't think she'll remember.
Okay. Well, that's a good advice.
So have the conversation with her, especially 7. She's grade 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know at school nowadays, it's not like in our age, they teach them these things, like maybe from next year. So have a conversation with her, Nana, when you are with people, just mind how you sit, you know?
You know what I'll do? I'll use the term of like picking your nose. You know,
Yes.
it's like that's what I do. I'm like, just don't pick. I mean, like, you don't want to be this parent that makes your child feel like they're in a prison.
Uncomfortable,
Or,
yes, yeah.
like, so I'll say, it's like if you're going to pick your nose, pick it on your own.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone see you pick your
Yeah.
nose, right? If you're going to flash your panties around, do that on your own. Don't,
Yes,
like,
or in your room.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anyways, that's it makes me think of. I wrote a book for teenage girls, this
Oh, okay.
self-help book, because I've
All
got
right.
2 stepdaughters.
Oh, okay.
And there was a section on masturbation, and it was like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I was just like, you know what? If you're going to masturbate, like, it's fun. Just close the bloody door. Don't let anyone walk in.
Because some people might just enjoy
close
it.
the door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, anyway. So yeah. So now just tell me. So since you, my question actually, and then we
Yes.
got diverted. How did you get your first customer as a healer, and then how did you get your first customer as a Sangoma?
Okay.
And how was that different?
Okay, as the healer one, most of the people got the details from Catherine's
Okay, from the website, yes.
The website. And the Sangoma one, when you do the traditional healing, some people just come and test you to see, let's see, did you go there to play or what? So my first customer was from the lady that was in my street. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how was that?
It was interesting. It was interesting. They were shocked. Okay, can I talk about my first client that I had as a healer?
Yes.
So I go to this lady's house. Most of the time I do house calls. So I go to this lady's house. Then she's like, oh my word, you are so young. I was expecting an old person.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting, and because when you I don't like labeling myself as this is how I do, or I also don't want to limit my gifts. So if I go to a patient, I would call them a patient, not a client. If I go to a patient's house, then we have the discussion first about what to expect, what not to expect. If there's any expectations, can we get that out of the way? And also, I also like to find out what did they hear about me so that I can clarify certain things, you know. Then you get into the reading. Then you'd recommend whatever needs to be recommended, and so that was very easy. That was simple. So it was done from Catherine's training. It was good. Then the traditional one, because then I come with this background from wanting to do the
crystals.
the medical checkup background, you know,
Yeah.
to check. Then I'm like, oh no, I'm doing the traditional way now, so I have to.
You realized you had to switch back.
Yeah, I realized that I had to switch back. So I struggle now and then, especially for people that come purely to do the traditional part. Then you get people that are quite flexible. That like, as long as I get what I want when I leave here, whether you do it the Western way or the traditional way,
Yes.
it's okay. Not to
Yes.
say that is the Western way. Healing is healing. It's just that people label things.
Yeah. So tell me how you do it. How do you if I come to you now?
Unfortunately, I don't throw bones. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not my strong
Well,
point.
tell our listeners, certainly abroad.
Okay.
Tell them how traditional healers were. I've actually been to one when my
Okay.
dog was stolen. I went to a
Okay.
Sangoma, and my friend's mom nearly strangled me and said, "How dare?" Like because I was obviously the only white.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not just like
Yeah.
half white. I'm like super
100%
white, right?
white, yeah.
Like, I'm so
With
white.
blonde hair.
Exactly, long blonde. So I mean, I was there sitting in this, traditional healers
Yeah.
place in Pietermaritzburg. It
Yeah.
was, where they've got like all these benches,
And
and
the
you're sitting
hut,
on the
yeah.
bench, and you move your space every
Yeah.
time someone moves. So, but I've been to a healer, and I know. So tell our listeners, what can they expect if they go to like a traditional
Okay.
Sangoma?
If you go to a hardcore traditional healer, they've got a hut. Ne? Most of the hut is facing the doors of the hut most of the time.
A heart,
Yeah.
just for pronunciation
Yeah.
clarity here. So an
Heart,
actual
H-U-T,
heart.
yes.
Yeah, HART.
No, H-U-T.
Oh, a hat.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
not a heart. I'm thinking he's got like some sheep's heart or something. Okay.
H-U-T.
Yeah.
With thatched roof.
Yes.
The doors most of the time faces the east because that's where inspiration and wisdom comes from. Then you go there, it's like it's round. Most of them, the traditional way that is, it's supposed to be round. Then you get there, then they've got dispensary, they've got their medicines, and then you have your traditional sangomas that will use the bones. Then you've for divination.
And what bones?
So you get shells. You've got bones from certain animals that they use that represent certain things. Mm-hmm. So you'll get there. Then there's an incense which we call mpepo. Mm-hmm. I think it's called wild sage.
Okay.
It's not your typical California white sage.
You mean that they burn in the
Yeah,
rooms to
yeah.
take away the bad energy?
Yeah. So there's a difference between the white sage, which I use to purify my space and clear and banish things. Then mpepo, we use it to summon the spirit of the ancestors. So
Okay.
it's a tool that we use to try and connect for better connection, And so most of them burn that, the incense. Then they will call on their ancestors, and they will also ask you for your surname. And then call their ancestors to be present with you, because you sometimes you'd go to do a reading and they can't find anything wrong with you, and not to say that they're not working their job, but your ancestors should be able with you being there, you automatically giving me permission to go into your
Okay.
space.
Yeah.
So then your ancestors should be able to open up to let me be able to see and how to best help you. Using the bones is just a tool. Like it's like
Yes.
using, so it's like the same like using tarot cards for reading. It's a tool.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Then they'll ask you to put your, to blow into it, then they throw it down. Then they're able to read and also pay attention spiritually, like psychically listen to what the voice of the ancestor or the spirit guides are telling you, then diagnose you from there.
Okay.
Then also the solution, we ask for the solution in the same manner. Then you get those that don't use bones, that I will ask for a glass of water. My gift, it's
Why will you ask for a glass of water?
so that I can do the reading.
So how does that work? So if you come to my house, you'll ask me for a glass of water.
And a white candle.
Okay, so I'll come bring you a glass of water, and
Then we leave it there, then I can,
okay.
yeah,
And that's how you work.
that's how I work.
So then what will you see in the glass of water?
Whatever they allow me to see. Whatever they allow
Where's
me
my
to
glass?
see.
Could you do it with this bottle?
No.
It has to be a glass.
It has to be something that you collected yourself, your energy.
But here's my watch. So would you be, no, but I just want to know, would you be able to? Do you have to go through a whole process in your head first?
No.
So if I pass you my watch, you could pick up some things.
I can pick up some things by looking
Anyway.
anyway, but you're like, okay, I'm not here for that.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm not here for that. So
Yeah.
because I was trained, I had the luck or something of being trained both ways, and where I'm working with people that are also modern and traditional. So I've managed to marry the two, and it works for me.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
some people still think that I pretend to be what I'm not, but that's who I am.
And who are those people?
You get hardcore traditional healers that will say, oh, but that's not how you do things. And I'm like, as long as I do things that are okay with my spiritual guides, and I feel at ease and my patient is
Yes.
healed or is at a much better level, then I'm happy.
So what do people come for you for in general? What do you attract?
I used to attract a lot of broken people. I used
Yeah.
to attract people that have been through the same issues that I've been with. But lately, I'm attracting people that just need a little bit more of spiritual alignment and grounding. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. And now are you practicing this full time? Is this your thing? Or do you still have something on the side?
I'm practicing full time, but to be very honest, I would love to have something that I'm doing as well, because I don't want to be driven to a point where I become greedy and start charging people prices that are crazy just because I need the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for now, this is what I'm doing.
But I can imagine, because I'm a coach as well,
Yeah.
and I'm now doing this yoga teacher training. I can imagine, and I have the show,
Yeah.
and I'm I've got such a business mind that's actually the thing that plagues me, because I come up with fabulous ideas all the
yeah.
time. But you to constantly be helping someone, I think, is actually what could
What drives me?
drive
Yeah.
drive you, but also drive you crazy,
Yes.
because you can't just constantly be helping.
Giving. Yeah.
And I think that's maybe for psychologists, they're in this sort of conundrum where they get a professional psychologist fee, but you often find like psychologists can be a little bit highly strung,
Yes.
because you can't be just listening to people's problems all day. I don't think it's healthy.
No, it's not. Even me, like once in a while, I go to get healing.
Yes.
Because it's too much. Remember, when you're in this business, you become an empath as well. So you become like this sponge that you absorb everything.
Exactly.
So you need time to release as well. And so I do take time off now and then, like to re-energize myself, to get rid of all these things, and maybe to to get penal beating now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very important. You have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll go mad.
Yeah.
Because there are, as much as you try not to internalize everything, but it's difficult not to.
So when did you like really connect with the understanding that you actually are a healing medium? When did the penny really drop?
I think in 2018,
What happened?
after losing my mom, after losing my dad and my other brother, then I'm only left with my kids, you know. They were the only things for me that were there. And you try, I was trying to run away from this thing as much, where especially the traditional part, where you go and say, okay, I don't want to do this. Maybe if I do it this way, they'll be happy, you know. And then when reality struck is when I had to do my background to know who really I am. Besides the rape, to know who my mother is, go and try and do the family tree.
So is this going into like regression?
Yes,
Yeah.
but I didn't do the past life regression. I physically researched.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I
yeah.
physically went to research, like, okay, these dreams that I'm having, and they don't make sense. Yes, I know my mom was gifted, but that's how far it goes. I didn't know where my mom got it from. And so I had to do so much research, and like I had to do a story of my birth, and also find out, like, try and figure out what my mother was saying about me. Was it true? Because some of, like, how do you not know you're pregnant? How do you not know for so much that you're pregnant? And then I realized that I was actually protected. Like, my pregnancy was hidden for a reason. And I was on this earth for a reason. And also
That dog bit you for a reason.
for a reason, for me to be able to get into hospital. And now I realize also the rape happened for a reason. For me, when I have a client coming through and I'm able, for some odd reason, you know, when somebody comes in or when I'm in that person's space, then immediately when you look at them, you can see, okay, this is what's happening, but this is the problem. So I would be able to pick that up quickly. Then we talk about it, and I got to get.
You mean they'll come in for this, but you'll be like, we actually need to be discussing something else.
Yeah. So then it made sense to me that I could relate and I could pick that up and I could help and give advice, you know, not because I always said not every headache needs a Panadol. You know, there's some headache where you just need to drink your water or face the truth, you know. So then I realized that, okay, this is what happened. Then I had to ask myself, why am I on this earth? Why, if my mother had such complicated issues, or when I was a baby, they said I was sick, why didn't I die? You know? Then I had to go a lot into meditation.
Yeah.
Then I would find answers. Then because I was also at peace, and because I was also like somehow welcoming this thing, and also not being judgmental that, oh, I'm going to be dirty, walking bare feet and all of those things. Then I had to learn what African ancestors are, because sometimes people demonize ancestral calling and call it names and saying you believe in demons and all of those things. Then also fully accepting that my parents are not demons, because they are dead now. They are no longer on this earth with me, but they're able to communicate with me through dreams. And I would be sitting here, then I could hear my mother's voice. At the beginning it was scary, because I'm like, Then I got to understand, okay. Then I understood that I needed to do this so that they can get healed and ascend to the higher level.
Yeah.
So then I fully understood my purpose in life was to become a healer, whether it was through healing traditionally or whatever, but because I also remember from 13 to 14, I lived with white people.
Yes.
So they are also souls. And I'm not going to discriminate. And crystal healing, okay, being introduced to crystals and Tara was through Sally.
Yes.
And like I was comfortable with that, but I wasn't comfortable with my own because people saw it as a taboo and it was also hidden, like you see. So then I realized, okay, I was able to experience both.
Well, maybe also because, so think about Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Let's make this close to home for a lot of
Yeah.
people. So people, especially when you're like exposing yourself more, right? So, I mean, I'm not a natural Instagrammer.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, understood that you need to really share who you are if you want to engage, right? So the thing is you're happy to do that. But then suddenly when you think of, and not like one friend, but you think, okay, what about your school friends? What if they're
Yes.
seeing you now? And then it becomes like, it just becomes a lot, you feel more vulnerable as opposed to, say, your followers who are in America or Australia or
Yes.
Philippines or, where, all over the place. And I can imagine the same with you. Being a Sangoma is too close to home. It's
Yes.
it's too sharp for judgment, right? Whereas if you're a crystal healer, well, your local villagers, where you grew up, they're not going to know a hell of a lot about it.
Like
so
what is crystals?
You can't screw
Like,
up too much. So maybe it's just about that level of vulnerability.
Yes. True. Very true.
But so, I mean, for you, since you were saying now, obviously in 2018.
Yeah.
So carry on with that.
Okay. So then I had to sit down with myself. I'm no longer working at SAA. But I had another job in a very small company. It wasn't paying too well. Then I had time to think, who is fortunate?
Yeah.
And where does fortunate come from? What does fortunate want in life? I want to be. Then the same thing came all over again, that I want to make people feel better. Then remember I told that I wanted to be a doctor.
Yes.
But the blood scared me.
And the numbers, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, since my initial thing was to become a doctor, and this thing, what I'm doing, it's healing, why don't I fully embrace it and see it as I'm in medicine, alternative medicine. And so when I started looking at it from that point, then I fell in love with the craft. And also, I also realized people were starting to come out. People were also being acceptable of natural healing, of traditional healing. People were accepting it. It was becoming a norm. Okay, it will never be a norm, but it was becoming okay, And also then, because then I loved that I started with Catherine, because some of the questions that I couldn't ask during the traditional process, I had already the answers from Catherine.
Okay.
We just had to marry the two, because, for example, when you go through the training, they would tell you not to eat certain foods. And if you go to an old person...
Like what?
I'll tell you just
Okay.
now. They'll say, you don't ask, just do what you're told.
Okay.
Then I got to understand, because I did the energy healing, the shaman training with Catherine, where you taught certain food ground you. So then I understood that dairy, red meat, and certain things, they ground me. So then I would say that my network wouldn't be completely open. My satellite wouldn't be completely open. So then I knew, okay, this is why I can't eat red meat. This is why I can't eat eggs. This is why I cannot touch dairy products, because also they cause phlegm, a lot of phlegm in the body, which in African traditional, they believe that you also see with your chest. I don't know what's the proper English way.
Well, it's the same like in yogic terms, right? You know, when you to really experience the full benefits of yoga, like if you follow the steps,
Yeah.
the first step is cleansing.
Yes.
So it's getting rid of all the mucus.
Yeah.
You literally do salt cleanses
Yes.
and you clear the mucus. It's all about having a completely clear pathway. So it's the same thing. If your
Yeah.
pathways and everywhere at your heart and
Yeah.
your chest is that's
It's clogged up.
yeah, if you're clogged up,
Yeah.
then it's clogged.
Yeah.
So as a healer, if you want, you know, if you're going to be open, then you can
Yeah.
really receive and
Yeah. Which is true. But the sad thing when you go to, especially if you go to those hardcore traditional person, they will not tell you why you can't eat those things.
they'll just say you can't.
You can't without understanding. Then there was also that thing that you cannot have sex. Like, why can't I have sex? You know? Then I also then learned a lot from Catherine that how you exchange energy during sex and all of those things. And here they don't explain. They just tell you can't A, B, C, and D without. So I understood, okay, I cannot do this because of this. I cannot do this because of this. I can do this because of this. And so I had an upper hand somehow with my training
Yes.
because I knew a lot of things.
Yeah.
But when you go for training, you don't make it obvious that you know certain things.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
become a child,
Yes.
you know, and you allow them to treat you as a child because sometimes, not with my training, but sometimes if you prove to them that I know all of those things, they will show you flames.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't just keep quiet.
Yeah, you just keep quiet. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma. Yes,
Yeah.
I hear you. I understand.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but in the mean, you know how to open your chakras and you know everything how to self clear
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, I was very blessed. My training did not become very. It wasn't difficult at all. It was like a walk in a park. I learned some things, but some things I already knew from because I was already in the healing
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
Just that I did it because I had to heal my ancestral line. Yeah,
That was your motive.
that was my motive.
Yeah.
That was my motive.
But you see, that's like anything in life, right? Don't we need, like you need a motive. There needs to be a motive to motivate you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where sometimes we get a bit wobbly, is if we're doing something like a robot and then suddenly we don't even have an idea of actually what is our motive here.
Yeah.
For example, like doing a job, like your mom, she became a domestic worker. Her motive was to pay the bills. Her motive was to support a child.
Yeah.
So you can do things if the motivation makes sense to you.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to need to move towards closing off.
Okay.
I still want to understand. I'm going to ask, so here's my watch, right? I just want to understand, like, how is it if I give you an object, you can immediately feel something?
Because
just explain that
your
to us.
energy is there.
Yeah.
Your energy is on that watch. So that's why you're able to pick up a part of you is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm intuitive in other ways. I'm intuitive through conversation. I can then tap in, right? But no, like I can't, if I get an object from someone, then I'm not intuitive. But I'm very intuitive when I'm talking to someone.
Okay. There's different ways of being. Some people would smell, like through smell. Some people can see pictures. Some people can hear. And there's names for it. There's big names for it. But like, yeah. So some people can pick up energy from holding an object. Like especially, let's say you are doing a reading on someone and the person is not present. But I would always ask you, do you have permission? Like, did that person give you permission to come here and do a reading on their behalf?
Yes.
You see, then you can do a reading. Like maybe for example, somebody's in hospital.
Or when I've seen that when people have gone missing,
Yes,
they give an object.
yeah.
To,
So from there, you are able to pick up. I can also pick up by just. That's why I say that I don't like labeling myself because I've got so many guides that
you
I
can
work
tap
with.
into.
Yeah. So whoever is present on that day and whoever chooses to work with me on that day, they are free
Yeah.
to do so. So if I say, oh, I will only use bones, I'm limiting them. I'm not giving them space to do their work because at the end of the day, it's not me. I'm just an instrument. I'm just a vessel
And they might not be receptive to
Yeah,
bones.
yeah.
Like that might sort of block them a bit,
Yes,
for example.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I personally, even when we're doing the training, I was not able to work properly with the bones. I would get a serious headache.
Is it?
Yeah. So then we came to a conclusion that my guides are not the bones type. I don't know if maybe they went to Model C school as well.
I love that. But did Catherine or in the Sangoma training, did they do training on, like, do you do an actual training?
No.
I mean, I should probably do a training in this because I'm so interested in all of this stuff, right? But I mean, you don't do a training on when you get an object, and
No.
then there's no training in that.
No, there's a they help you as a person
To be receptive.
to be receptive. That's all that it is, because they cannot train you. It's your ancestors that are doing the work. They teach you, okay, Forge, this is how you become receptive. Train your mind to be receptive. Train your body, be able to quieten the external forces. Then you are fully receptive and able to hear what you are being told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think it is ancestral? Like, I mean, my dad has often always said I'm psychic. Not me, him.
Yeah.
He's psychic. And of course, then the family sort of, I mean, he used to be a very successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But for, like, for example, his factory burned down that he built up from nothing, when they were young, he started a factory just from his apartment. He started making furniture, grew up into be like the biggest export furniture manufacturing business here. But he had this dream or this premonition that he saw the factory burning before it had burnt.
It happened, yeah.
And then the factory actually burnt down. And he's always said that, so... but it's interesting. I'm just curious because I'm intuitive, but
Yeah.
I'm not an intuitive. I don't consider myself intuitive like
Okay.
you. But if you think it, I would imagine not, but that it's ancestral, is that an important factor if someone wants to develop the intuition, or, I mean, not develop intuition, but I mean to be a seer, you know what I mean, a visionary, like...
Okay, I always say that everybody is intuitive.
Yes, yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
But not on a level where if you give your
Yeah,
watch, then
yeah.
they're going to see what's
Yeah.
going on.
So you get people that are blessed or gifted with that gift. Even the Bible say that there are people with gifts, many gifts, So everybody being intuitive, you just need to, not everybody can be a psychic or whatever. Your intuition is there to help you, to guide you, to protect you, and in some things. And did your dad, was he told how to stop the fire, or was he told, because sorry, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
When he saw the fire, did they tell him? Was it a warning for him? Was he doing something that he's not supposed to do? And they're like, okay, we will show you, we will do this. Or he just saw it and just ignored it.
I think it was the second one, because then when it happened, they were completely shocked.
Okay. All right. I feel that, okay, let me go back. Okay. All right. So what are we saying?
We'll talk later. I can see you going into space.
Okay.
So listen. Okay, because what I was saying is we have to move towards closing.
Yes.
Are you getting in there? Are you
Yeah.
getting stuck into my story?
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
Shake it off. So I think let's end off on that note, right?
Okay.
Because intuition is something everybody has.
Yes.
And it's something that can open up your world if you're just become more vulnerable in life and you open up your intuition,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So just let's end off there on how do you feel people can maybe, work on the intuition and just sort of with that, you know, just be more receptive in their day-to-day life of living just a good, conscious, awesome life?
Okay. I would say that be intuitive for yourself first, you know, and use it to protect yourself, use it to stay balanced and grounded. And you can do that through many ways, like this meditation. You can do meditation, clear your mind and cleanse once in a while, like remove all the toxins in your body. Then you'll be able to, your third eye will open up. And meditation does not only necessarily mean the Buddha and the Zen, whatever, but like sitting in a quiet place, putting your candles, your incense, if you use incense, and be in a quiet place and try as well to listen in during that quietness. There's a lot of things that are spoken in quietness.
Yeah.
That only if you have tuned in properly you are able to hear. And some of them are intuitive for themselves. Like I'm picking up that you are very intuitive, and most of the things that are happening in your life, whether the bad or the good, you somehow know about it. And sometimes you're like, oh, you go like, it's life. But I'm not sure. Can I go ahead?
I don't know. Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I'm picking up. I'm not sure if it's your grandmother from the paternal side. Is she late?
Late, yeah.
Yeah. So she's coming through, and she's actually laughing that we're having this conversation, and they're saying that it's okay to let your child be, you know. They're watching over her, and they know that you are very overprotective, and your child is she's a free-spirited human being. So she'll shock you now and then. She'll ask you questions that like, where did that come from? You know? So you need to handle her with, not with care, but you need to be careful on how, even when you scold her, is scolding the right word? When you scold her, like, do it in a very loving way. She's a ball of energy, not in a bad way. You know, she's got so much energy, and she's very artistic. And people that are very artistic, they struggle to focus in your day-to-day basis. So, like, know that she's very artistic. She might have issues with showing right now the artistic side, but later on you'll say, okay, this is what they were talking about. Yeah, but other than that, they're saying that you need to tune in to your intuition more often. It will protect you like it has been protecting you. And then your life coaching part, it's also part of your being intuitive.
Meaning? I actually can't believe you're doing this on me now. Anyway, carry on since you're doing it. If it comes, it comes.
I tried my best. I'm like, God, please.
Yeah.
Let us not go there. So your life coaching, it's also part of you doing your work as an intuitive, I'm not going to say a person, a healer, but as an intuitive, I think, because you're not using only what you were taught, the principles and the tools that you had, but you are able to tune in intuitively and give guidance accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
And then for other people who aren't and don't want to be healers, what's your last tip for them who?
Not everybody can be a healer.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So just day-to-day life, like people don't want to be a healer either, you know, like what's your tip for them just to, so you said about cleansing, detoxing, meditating, sitting in a quiet space.
Yeah, I think that's very important for everyone, healer or no healer.
Yes, exactly.
It's very compulsory, especially the toxins that we're getting nowadays, you know, and the food that we eat, all the chemicals that we. So it's very important to learn to ground yourself once in a while. Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, on closing, just give me your most amazing moment as a healer.
The other day, there was can I read the message for you?
Yeah.
I had a client that was highly depressed. And when she was highly depressed, we did some sessions with her. And I'm big in, there are people that believe in witchcraft. Oh, I've been bewitched and this is why this is happening to me. But then I said to her, it's not witchcraft. It's, you're attracting things that are happening to you, and you get people that don't believe like in that, like, oh, but I came here, you're supposed to help me, now you're telling me that I'm doing this to myself. And then I had to say to her, okay, let's give it some time. For sometimes stop thinking that people are bewitching you.
Yeah.
And the moment that it was not easy, then it started happening that she stopped thinking about people are bewitching her. Then affirmations every day, the cleansers, like basic things that you'd have in your house. For example, your hyssop, rosemary, and basil, things that you can, the herbs that you can find in a shop, buy and cleanse. And then she felt lighter. And the moment that she started feel lighter, she started feeling good about herself. Then she stopped believing that she was bewitched because she started seeing the light side of life.
Yeah.
And then she sent me a message the other day that I've got a job. She was going through an interview at the same time. Then she said to me, I've got a job at my dream company, you know. And then she said to me as well, from being highly depressed and thinking that I was being bewitched, you never even once gave me herbs to use, but you recommended certain things that I could go into a store and buy and use, and also change of mindset.
Yeah.
And now she's working in her dream company. Nowadays, you hardly get people that work in dream companies. So, getting that made me feel very good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like so a person telling me that, oh, I feel so much better, I'm no longer depressed, I'm able to look myself in the mirror and tell myself that I'm beautiful. So those small things, they mean so much to me.
Yeah.
They mean so
Yeah.
much to me. So the message from this lady, it really broke me, you know, because like she was like, when she said, oh, I don't see what I'm living for. And it was very hard. And now she's working for the company that she dreamed of working for. And then as well, she said to me, okay, let me read this. Okay, from having a depression episode and not having a job, to sitting with offers from my top 10 employers and having a decision to decline the other ones, I'm very blessed.
Lovely.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I didn't do any magic. You just have to, sometimes there are people that believe so much into witchcraft, and I always say, what you resist, it will follow you. So if you keep on thinking, oh, I'm being bewitched, you will be bewitched by yourself. You will bewitch yourself by thinking that you are bewitched. So stop thinking, yes, witchcraft is there. Yes, negative things are there. Yes, there are people that are playing with dark forces. But you have to be strong as a person and stop giving it so much attention. Stop giving it energy, because the moment that you give it energy, it will come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice place to end.
Yes.
Thanks, Fortunate.
Thank you, Jan.
So nice to have you on the show.
Yes. It was very nice. After so long, we are finally here.
Exactly. Okay, let me just quickly come here.
Okay.